Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Robin Armbrecht at Really Robin Stamps and this is Papercrafting Playdate. Today is November 5th, 2021 and you are joining me for my weekly live video that I do on Facebook and then I upload to YouTube later. So no matter how you are watching me today or later in the future, I'm so glad that you're here and that you want to learn something about paper crafting today. So we have a technique video today, and the tutorial is on a technique that's called direct to paper. So let's get started. Okay, let me flip the camera. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I love reading your comments, so leave me a comment. Say hi. Okay, I think that's going to be good. All right, so it's November. How did that happen? I'm not sure, but this year is just chugging along, and so we are chugging along with it. I hope everybody's doing well in your world. So before I begin with my technique, there's two things you need to know. One is there is starting this week, this bundle of products called Eden's Garden is available. And it has this great little bundle of stamp sets, a stamp set and dies. And those of course can be purchased separately or together. And then it has these kind of while supplies last items. There's a package of designer series paper with gold foiling, so it's a specialty. There's this beautiful cotton paper, and then there are these gems. So this is something that is available right now. You can get the whole thing for $82, or you can purchase individually the pieces that that you like. I personally am in love with the little gems. They're very pretty. Hi Narita, how are you? Hi Susan. So glad you are here. All right, so the gems are my favorite. The other thing is that there is a starter kit option, a discounted starter kit. This doesn't happen very often. Usually Stampin' Up! Provides the starter kit at already a great value, and then they offer something on top of it. This time they're just taking $25 off of the price. So instead of, I guess that's not $25, it's $75 instead of $99, and you still get $125 worth of product to fill your kit however you want to fill it. So if you are thinking about purchasing supplies for your craft space and you got a big wish list, this is a great way to do it because you can become a demonstrator, get the starter kit, and then you can be a discount purchaser. And that's what a lot of people do. And that's just a really great way to build your collection of stamps. If you need more information about that, please contact me. All right, so we have a new hostess code because it's a new month. And this month, in anticipation of all of the fun little holiday kind of festive cards that we will be making, I am giving away the Wink of Stella Glimmer Brush. Is it glimmer or glitter brush? It doesn't say. I'm going to call it glimmer. It's a glimmer brush. Anyway, this makes a beautiful little shimmer on anything that you want it to go on. I'm going to show you how to put it together here really quickly. When it comes, it's protected and all of the fluid is in here. And when you get it, you have to take this little ring out and then put it back together. You can throw that ring away. And then there's the words push here. And so what you have to do to get it started is just give it a couple little squeezes. You can see the liquid falling down in there. You don't want to overdo it. Give it a little time to work its way down through the bristles. And eventually you'll see it start to shimmer through the brush tip. And that's how you know it's ready to use. And then once you kind of get it started, it's kind of a self-feeding brush, so you don't have to really push this every time you want to use it. Just occasionally, maybe if you feel like you want a little more juice at the tip, then you can do that. If you squeeze too hard, it'll pour out, right? And then you're gonna have a little puddle. So that's how you put that together. These are wonderful, and I'm gonna use it today so you can see how you use it. Okay, so we're doing direct to paper today. So if you haven't heard about this technique, it's just an oldie but goodie technique, and it's something that is very easy to do. And it's simple, and it's a way to just use all of the products that you already have and to create different backgrounds. So we're going to do the basic technique, and then I am going to use embossing folders with this technique too. Hi Carol, hi Kay, great to see you. Hi Sherry. Gang's all here, awesome. Okay, direct to paper literally means exactly how it sounds. You are putting ink directly on the paper without using a stamp or an image to transfer the ink to the paper. So I'm going to show you just the basic technique first, and then we're going to build from there. So I picked two very bright colors. And the first way that we're going to do this is just kind of like, we're just going to brush it on, okay? So great thing about our ink pad design is there's these little grooves on the side of the ink pad that are textured, so they're easy to grip. So you want to hold the ink pad so that you can use the ink pad like a brush in your hand, okay? So the important thing about doing this technique is that you want this side right here where that ink pad is closest to the edge. See how there's barely an edge there? You want that to be up at the top of your hand where your fingertips are. That will give you the control that you need. So then what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of lay it at an angle. I'll show you. The angle is going to be like this. And you're just going to add it to your paper. Now, again, I'm just doing a simple brush stroke here. And we're going to just create some little brush strokes. So if you kind of give it a little twist, you're going to get something like that. If you just pull it. All right, so let's use the other color here. We're going to use Gorgeous Grape. And so I'm just simply making a busy background with direct to paper, right? Now, some of you are like, ah, that's so messy. I don't like that. That's okay. Don't do it. Don't do it if you don't like it, right? But let me show you how you can build on it, okay? If you keep going, then you can create some really fun backgrounds. So I added a third color to that brush stroke technique. I added some Bermuda Bay, and I just kept adding it till I kind of filled the background. And then popped it, just a couple little flowers on there and made a very simple little card. So I'm going to hold that up close and see if you can see the shimmer on those flowers. So all I did after those cardstock flowers were on there, I just took my Wink of Stella and I just painted them really quickly. So I got this beautiful shimmer on those flowers. That's my favorite thing to do with the Wink of Stella. And here is another example using lots of shades of green with the brush stroke direct to paper. All right, so it's kind of fun. Like I said, you start to do it and you're like, wow, I'm just really messing up that cardstock, but then it kind of transitions, and the more that you add, it kind of makes this really nice kind of artistic background. And I think that's what I really like about the direct to paper technique in general. And, I go back to it occasionally, is because it does make you feel like an artist when you just kind of get messy and you play with ink, right? Sherry likes the greens. Yes, I know. I love the greens too. Let's just put those right there, and then we'll do the next thing. All right, so that was brush stroke direct to paper. So the other thing that you can do is you can just create very smooth backgrounds. So let's say you don't have all the colors of cardstock, right? That takes a while to build your collection. But let's say you have a few ink pads and you've got white cardstock. So direct to paper allows you to add that ink to the cardstock such that you can kind of create, you know, colored paper in a way. Hi, Wanda. So with this version of direct to paper, you're going to be sliding or swiping your ink pad along the paper in kind of a smoother fashion. All right, so the key to this is to start off of the edge of the paper and then to go all the way in one stroke and then go off the other side. Okay, and what I like to preface this is by saying everybody has a different amount of ink in their ink pads, right? Depending on if you're using your favorite ink pad color that is maybe a little dry, or if you have just re-inked an ink pad, it's going to be a little bit, have a little bit more ink in it. So I would just recommend that you go ahead and you kind of like test first before you start doing this, so you kind of know what pressure that you're going to apply to get the ink that you want. And with this smooth background, you're going to apply very little pressure because only this little part, this edge of the ink pad is going to be touching the paper. So that's a really shallow angle. So I'm going to start off and then go all the way off to the other side. Now, if you want it darker, you just do it again. All right, so even though I'm calling it swiping, do you see how slow that is? You almost want to do it in slow motion, just to give yourself control, because the faster you go, at least for me, the faster I go, and I tend to be heavy-handed and fast, I tend to like not get it straight, right? So I'm going to do purple, the gorgeous grape, on the other side and overlap them. Like that, and we'll do it again. All right, so now I've got kind of almost a little bit of an ombre thing going. So of course you can do it this way. Just the key with this, you want to start off and you want to end off, and you want to have a nice controlled kind of pull to it. So let me just show you. I was playing around with the regular basic white paper and then the thick basic white cardstock, because I knew this one, the thicker basic white, that's really designed to be made into card bases. It's not designed to stamp images and color on. That's what this regular white is for. It's much smoother. So I wanted to see the difference in how that came out, and you get a lot more texture on the thicker basic white. So if you've got both, you can play with both kinds of cardstock, just to see, you get a different kind of little bit of effect. Not a huge difference, but a little bit. And then on this side, I just wanted to show you, if you keep going, right, you keep going more than 2 times that I did, you're going to get it, it'll become darker, right? And then you've got more shading within that. Can be really, really pretty. All right, so let me show you a card made with this one. I just stamped a flower right in the middle. Let me zoom in just a tiny bit here. It's hard to do on my phone. Okay, let's try that. Anyway, very simple card, right? I love, love, love simple stamping like this. Okay, so we've got the brush stroke and we've got a smooth background. Let me show you the third basic direct to paper, and I'm calling this color blocking. And so for this version, you use the whole ink pad, you set it down, and then you just slide it off. So you're going to get a really dark color. All right, so I'm going to start with the pink. I'm going to lay it down, and then I'm just going to slide it off. So you're going to get a lot of ink, right? So the goal with this is to kind of make it look like a rectangle or some kind of shape. And I'm just going to butt this up right against that other color, lay it down, and then do that. All right, so this will just give you a very simple, let's say, like again, you don't have those cardstock colors, but you can kind of create some color in the background with this color blocking technique. And here would be an example of how you could make that into a card. Very simple. Just stamp something else on there, or mount a greeting or something on there. So I use the little penguin set, and I don't know if you can see the sparkles from our Wink of Stella. He's got a little sparkle on there with his balloon too. Okay, so these are the basic direct-to-paper techniques. You've got the brush stroke, you've got the smooth background, and then you've got color blocking. So let's step this up. We'll put our little samples over here. We'll bring them back in a second. Actually, let me show you one other thing first. So one other quick little background you can do is to create your own little wood grain, right? Let's say you wanted to, let me bring this paper back here. Let's say you wanted your background to look like some kind of wood grain. So let's start with our smooth. I'm putting more pressure on now, and you see how I get kind of that effect where it kind of slides and then it releases. So I want it to look a little bit more like wood grain. Okay. All right, then I'm going to just take the corner of this pad and I'm just going to create a little bit of lines, like kind of jaggedy lines. And now I'm going to take a darker color. This is soft suede. That was crumb cake. And I'm going to add some more. So you would just play with this. So these little touches can look like little knots. You can try to circle around here. You get the idea. So as you play with that more and more, you can just kind of turn it into something that looks like kind of a faux wood grain, right? So this is kind of fun to play with. All right. Now I want to step up this technique and use it with embossing folders. These are all very inexpensive ways to, add to your collection. Embossing folders are usually somewhere between $8 to $10, and it makes, such a great effect on your card. So this is the Timber 3D embossing folder. And so I've already embossed it on Berry Vanilla, and we're going to go back with our crumb cake, and I'm going to do that same smooth technique. Nice and controlled, and you see how that just pops to life. So do you see how it didn't pick up at first and then it picked up? So you're going to be tempted to just go back in right in the middle of your card, but when you do that, you end up getting an edge. So always start off one side and go off then the other side. Make it one smooth stroke. All right, see how that is so beautiful. I think it's beautiful. Okay, so let's double our direct to paper. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to first use our crumb cake again, and we're going to color this cardstock. Same Berry Vanilla. Ooh, that looks cool. All right, so now we're going to put it in the embossing folder. If you aren't familiar with the embossing folders, the side that has the Stampin' Up! Logo is up. Okay, so when you want to make sure that the image that you are embossing is coming through, especially if you've stamped on it like this, and it kind of matters which side is the front of your card front and which is, you know, the back that you're going to glue. Just remember that if you put your paper facing up and the top has the logo on it, then that is going to be the right way to make that embossing pop up. So we're going to emboss this. This is a 3D folder, so it takes plates 1 and 4. So we already put some ink on it, and now I'm embossing it. Okay, so here's what we've got. This was the first one that I just did direct to paper after we embossed it. So now I'm going to take soft suede, and I'm going to take that little bit darker brown, and we're going to go over the embossing. I can hardly speak while I'm doing this. I have to concentrate. I think this looks like magic. I think every time I do this, it's like magic. I probably did this 50 times yesterday, and I was giddy every single time. So here's 2 different versions. So you can get a lot of effects with just using your ink and your embossing folder. So let me show you how those turned out in some cards. So I just put a simple greeting on this one to make a little wedding card. And then this one is just a thinking of you card. Pretty, right? And so easy. It's just so easy. Okay, let me put the browns away. Now, I'm going to go back and show you. Remember this card, right? I did that technique first. So I went ahead and embossed it with the Pretty Flowers embossing folder, and then did the direct to paper a second time and have this version of this card. And when I played around with it a couple times, you see here I inked it. I just did the direct to paper technique 2 more times than I did over here. So you can increase the shading and how that gets highlighted just by how many times you go back over it. Okay, now let's change it up a little bit more. Let me grab the next project here, and we're going to use this technique on regular colored cardstock. All right, so I've got some Blush Blossom, and we're going to make a little holiday card here. And I thought it would be fun to bring in some of these embossing folders. So these come in a set. It's called Wintry, and you get the pretty pine needles, and then you get these snowflakes. So we're going to use the snowflakes. And so let's do a double version of direct to paper on this. So I'm going to take the same color ink as my cardstock. So this is Blush Blossom, and I'm just going to really lightly add some color to the back or to the front of this cardstock. Like that. And then we're going to run it through the embossing machine. And we'll put this snowflake folder on it. So now we've got our embossing, and now we'll take Poppy Parade and we'll do the second direct to paper. Remember, you're going to test it, just see how inky your pad is before you start. And that's going to reveal the embossing. Do one more here. Like that. I love the little stitching, the little wind marks on this embossing folder is so cute. So let's put together a quick card here. So I'm going to use the card base the same color as my embossed piece, and we'll put some Poppy Parade at the bottom to kind of accent that ink color. How many of you have done this technique before and need to maybe revisit that technique or give it a try if you haven't tried it? All right, so there is our card base right there. Super cute. And then we're going to add a greeting, and we'll add some ribbon. And make it all complete here. I'm going to add one of these snowflakes to underneath the sentiment. And we'll use one of the greetings from this Snowflake Wishes. And we'll stamp with the Poppy Parade. So we're going to just put that like that. So let's add a little adhesive to my snowflake. And then we'll add our ribbon and a couple little embellishments. All right, easy, right? You could whip up a bunch of these pretty quickly if you were thinking about making some cards for birthdays, even winter birthdays. Just add some of those little rhinestones in there, and then we've got that. What do you think? So one of the things you can do with the Wink of Stella is you can just outline your greeting. And so I'm just gonna pretend this is like a marker and just go over and it just is very subtle, but it adds a little shimmer to your greeting. All right, so I did one with the pine folder, used the same layout. See, it's the same layout, but it's going this way. So this is Soft Succulent, and I did the Soft Succulent ink first and then embossed it, and then used the Evening Evergreen over top for the second direct-to-paper. And that one turned out really cute. And I was playing around, so this is what's fun. You can play around. So this is just doing the direct-to-paper one time on white paper. This is doing the direct-to-paper 2 times on white paper. And then this is how it looks on colored cardstock. So you can get quite a few different little effects just by changing up the paper or your ink colors, or whether you do the direct to paper 1 or 2 times. There's 2 more adorable little folders that are in the main catalog, and they're called Thanks and Hello, and it has all the ways to say hello in all kinds of different languages, and then all the ways to say thank you or thanks. And so I created this one, same layout as these. I just used a little border folder to create that strip with a little edge on it. And this one I inked first in Pale Papaya, and then I embossed it, and then I did direct to paper the second time with pumpkin pie ink. So that is another way that you can use this technique. All right, so let me show you. These are my favorite that I've made today. I don't want to put them away, but we'll just put them over there for a second. I'm going to bring in this embossing folder, which is the hybrid folder that goes with this bundle. And it's called a hybrid folder because it cuts as it embosses. So it's got a die that coordinates with the embossing folder. And then when you use it together through your machine, it's going to emboss and cut out those flowers at the same time. So that's why it's called a hybrid. But before we do that, let's do some direct to paper on this to get it ready. Because I know those flowers are in the middle, I'm going to go ahead and do direct to paper kind of around the edges. Remember to test your pad so that the color is more on the edges and not straight down. So I'm just going to go around the whole outside and leave the middle of the cardstock brighter in white. Go around one more time. Hi, Nydia. Okay, so now we're going to emboss it and cut out those flowers like that. All right, you ready to see some more magic here? So here's the flowers. So they pop out. All right, let's do our magic here. Now we're going to go over it again, just like I did before, but it's going to pick up the embossing. Telling you, it's magic. Magic with an ink pad. Who would have thought? All right, again, I'm just going to leave the center kind of white like that. Now, don't forget, if you have Stampin' Spots, these work great for this technique as well. If you're a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, you get a new ink pad every month, and so you might have these, and these are very easy to hold and use for this technique. So let me use this. I'm going to still, even though it's not a flat piece of paper, I'm still going to start off and go all the way across. Turn my flower here. And it just reveals all that beautiful embossing. So you can keep going until you get it as dark as you want. Like that. All right. And so the other thing you can do with your Wink of Stella is you can use it like a blender pen, almost like a paintbrush. So it'll activate this ink because it's liquidy, and you can then not only spread the ink around, but you can make it shimmery at the same time. So it can kind of act like a paintbrush with your ink. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so I'm going to show you the finished card here. All right, so I just mounted those back inside and put them onto a Just Jade card and put some of the little cutout leaves around there. A very simple card, but it, you know, it doesn't look simple. That's what I like it. I like it that way. Okay, so that is direct to paper twice, double. All right, I've got one more card to show you, and this is a slightly different twist on this technique as well. We're going to use the Evergreen Forest 3D embossing folder, and we're going to use some gray granite. So this time, because this folder has a really nice little flat area up here where the sky is, right? So instead of doing direct to paper on the cardstock, we're going to use our ink directly onto the embossing folder. So again, if you think about where the logo is, okay, being on top, that means when I emboss this, it's going to get pushed up. The bottom is pushing up to create the embossing, okay? And the top is like pushing in, and they sandwich together to get that embossing. So if I want to apply some ink to the background and not the embossing, I need to put it on this flat side here. So I'm just going to take my ink pad, and I'm just going to rub some ink, just like I've done on the paper, but I'm going to just put it kind of evenly going across just the top of this folder. So now when I emboss it, that ink is going to get pressed into the paper, and it's going to give the sky a little bit of a background. So let's send that through the Big Shot here. And then you've got this pretty, see how it gives it a little bit of color? Okay, so then what we're going to do our direct to paper the second time is we're going to take the white craft ink. So we'll kind of make it look snowy. All right, and I'm going to take it from this side, and we're just going to pull that white ink up along the trees. Isn't that pretty? So you can direct to paper with your white ink pad as well. Let's go ahead and put this on our card front and make a very simple little Christmas card. Now I just laid this in my paper here, so I got this little mark right here, but that's not a big deal, especially with pigment ink, because it stays wet for a little bit. So I'm just gonna brush that off with a baby wipe there, like that. All right, so there's our card front, and we'll just finish that up with a little greeting and some ribbon. So we'll put this gray granite ribbon across here, and we got to add a little bit of this black and white because I can't resist it. I want it on every card. I'm going to make the end of this look like, I don't know what you call that tail of a ribbon when it looks pointed, angled. Just add a little bit of this, just a little pop of the black and white. And then we've got a very, very easy little Christmas card. And I'll get it straight, and that would be there. Perfect. All right. Now, once this white ink is fully dry, I can go back with my Wink of Stella and I can just put a little bit of these shimmery highlights along the tops of these little evergreens here. And that will look really pretty. So the other thing you can do with your Wink of Stella is you can make little splatters with it. If you just kind of hit it with a lid, or you can use like your scissors like that. It'll kind of shake out these little splatters, which are kind of hard to see on this gray granite, but you can see there's some little splatters right there. So very pretty, very fun, very easy. I love techniques like this where you can just use your ink pads, use your paper, and come up with some fun little cards. All right, so let's just review here. We did 3 basic techniques with direct-to-paper without embossing folders, where we just color blocked and we did brush strokes and we did like a sliding smooth finish. And then we brought in embossing folders and we played with doing direct-to-paper twice, before and after, using an embossing folder and how that is different. And then we played with embossing folders and direct-to-paper on cardstock, colored cardstock instead of plain cardstock. All right, which one's grabbing your attention? I hope you're thinking about your embossing folders that you have and your ink, and thinking about how you could play and make some backgrounds with your own stuff. I would love it if you leave me a comment, and that will just make my day. So thank you very much for watching this, and I hope you try this technique very soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.